Assin North MP James Jachi-Kwesing, the minority says any attempt by the Akufo-Addo administration to use the courts to tilt the balance of power in Parliament will be the greatest danger to the country's democracy. According to the minority, government is adopting crude tactics, including the use of the judiciary to reduce their numbers in Parliament. This morning, prosecutors charged Mr. Kwesing with perjury and other offences for allegedly failing to declare his true dual nationality status to the Electoral Commission in the nomination forms ahead of the...
Not present in court when the case was called. The charges that have been filed against him includes perjury, forgery, deceit of a public officer, and making a false declaration for office. According to the prosecutors, while filling a passport application form, the MP failed to indicate that he held on to dual citizenship at the time. That is, he was a Ghanaian as well as a Canadian. Rather, they say on the form he indicated that he was only a Ghanaian. Now, they say that that was the situation in terms of the nomination form he filed to contest the elections as well. So this is the basis for the charges. The court directed that a hearing notice be issued and the MP ordered to appear before the court on February 9, 2022. For JoyNews on the Law Court Complex, my name is Joseph Akable.
Well, the minority leader, Harun Idrisu, has been reacting to this news at a press conference.
Secondly, without prejudice, the issue of whether or not per Article 94(2)(a) of the 1992 Constitution, I believe that is what is before our competent courts, which is pending before the Court of Appeal. And by all standards, it stands next to the Supreme Court in terms of judicial hierarchical authority and mandate. Before the Court of Appeal, coups, as well as the Supreme Court, in various suits, also an application for stay of execution before the Court of Appeal. Under the circumstances, the lawful and reasonable thing for the Ghana police, the ruling New Patriotic Party government, and their surrogates to do is to abide by the decision of the Court of Appeal on these processes as their modicum contribution to the respect for the principles of rule of law. Any attempt by the police to prosecute pending a final decision by the Superior Court is only prejudicial of the Court of Appeal and therefore contemptuous of the Court of Appeal and an obvious disrespect to the rule of law and the rule to respect an independent arbiter of the judiciary. It is obvious that the desperate Akufo-Addo government, the Attorney General Office and the Police Administration are acting in bad faith to get an unfair advantage in Parliament for the Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia government in its unbridled quest to pass a major disincentive to the development of our digital.
Harun Idrisu also indicated that despite the victimization, the minority will continue to oppose the controversial electronic transactions levy.
If for nothing at all, the Akufo-Addo government and Ghanaians must thank this minority. But for us, will there be public engagement and town hall meeting on E-Levy? Certificate of agency, which resulted in those excesses. So consultation, they must thank us for giving them an opportunity to reach out to the Ghanaian public and to consult. In any case, it's only an afterthought and a corrective measure by them. But at least we are happy that we led the way for them to do what is appropriate. So, Mr. Whip, I'm back to your text. President Akufo-Addo and his... they should not think that Ghanaians can be forever cowed by the imposition of a political, strong minority. And as you hear them, I've heard some of them say that they should be comfortable with their 137 plus 1. We are comfortable with our 137, and we are optimistic of an increased number in the foreseeable future, in the coming days. So the Ghanaian people should be assured that this unfast and persecution by a desperate political administration to get us give in, we simply will not support E-Levy, nothing more. We shall continue with all our might to resist these desperations of the despotic Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo regime and those use of crude Machiavellian tactics to reduce our authority as an independent, neutral arbiter on these matters. Any attempt to use the courts to tilt the balance of power will be the gravest danger to the sustenance of our multi-party democratic system when we lose faith and confidence in the independent judiciary. So we pray and hope that they will not use the courts to tilt the balance of power.
Joining us live from Parliament. Parker, first of all, this MP seems to be really scarce in the first place. Has it been attending parliamentary sittings at all?
Well, Blaise, I can confirm to you that today the Member of Parliament for Assin North constituency hasn't been to Parliament. And yesterday, if you check the voting proceedings, in my hand as well, number 48, that is where you say his name, Kwesi James Gyakye, into brackets, Assin North. He was absent yesterday as well. So it appears that since the matter resurfaced somewhere on Tuesday, about 2 days ago, the MP hasn't been to Parliament. But I must be quick to add that you can't be in the chamber, but perhaps might be at the committee meetings, doing a few things at the committee level. So in the chamber, he hasn't been seen in the chamber. But I cannot tell whether he's at the committee meeting, doing something at the committee level. So that is the position on the MP. But I have with me the Deputy Minority Leader, James Kluchi Virgin. I'm sure he will be able to account for where his MP is. Honourable, where is the Member of Parliament? Assin North MP James Gyakye Kwesi.
He's currently doing some assignment that we have given him. Also coupled with some of the committee work that every member of parliament is entitled to. So if you see him mark absent on the votes and proceedings for yesterday and today, it means that he has not come to parliament on the floor of the house to sign. Now, there are members from even the other side who this morning were correcting the votes and proceedings, but they were in Parliament. But for the fact that they did not sign the attendance sheets, they were marked absent. So that is how the work of Parliament is done. So as we speak now, the Honourable Member of Parliament for Assin North, for the fact that he has not come to the floor to sign, he will still be marked absent for even tomorrow. So he's still around.
Your critics say, obviously, he's going into hiding. He doesn't want the police and the court to injunct him from, of course, his duties here in Parliament. Do you agree to this?
No, I do not. Maybe they know something that we do not know. As you are aware, some of their members have not been coming to Parliament even since we resumed. We're in the second week. Some of their members have not even stepped in Parliament for once. Are they also running away from something?
No, but they don't have any court case against them.
Well,
obvious.
I'm saying that are they also running away from something? I didn't mention court case. You know that. Is there the reason why they're also not coming to Parliament? So we have given each member of Parliament the opportunity to attend to other issues at the constituency level, at the committee level. And if you absent yourself from Parliament without any permission, they have up to 14 days for the action to be taken against you. But if you absent yourself with permission, it can run for how many days, only God knows. So for the fact that he did not attend sitting of the House for 2 days, that does not mean that he's violating the rules of the House. So he is still a member of Parliament, and he's still doing his work as a member of Parliament.
He's not running away from the court.
He's not right. How can he run away from the court?
Are you ready to hand him over to the court so that due process will be followed through? It's been 1 year, he's been evading court summons.
There is no evidence that we are holding him. Why are you asking me to hand him over to the court? We are not holding him. He's a member of Parliament duly elected by the people of Assin North. So he is doing his work as a member of Parliament. We are not keeping him anywhere. We are not holding him. We are not preventing him from availing himself to the... He will definitely avail himself to the work of the court. So for that one, asking me if we will hand him over, we are not holding him anywhere for which will be requested to hand him over. No, we are not.
I am quite curious. I mean, today he's been charged with forgery, among others, and you say that there's an attempt by the government to reduce the numbers. I mean, some say that, the law is working. I mean, someone challenged the eligibility of your colleague who is Assin North MP, and you're blaming this on government trying to reduce the numbers. How is that possible, sir?
Well, I think that my leader addressed a press conference this morning, and our position as a minority in Parliament have been made clear in that press conference. We have seen that government is desperate, very desperate during this time, that they need numbers in order to pass this controversial bill called E-Levy. Now, why do you want to charge a member of Parliament who is going through the process with other things that are not necessary? To the extent that you're asking the court to grant a warrant for him to be arrested. Why do you do that? Fortunately, the court denied that request. So it is an attempt, or all effort are being made by this government to reduce the numbers that we have from 137 to 136, so that they can have their numerical strength in order to pass this controversial bill, the bill that Ghanaians are against, the bill that even members of the MPP themselves are also against. This government will not listen to the people of Ghana, to the extent that the president even described this, what Ghanaians are doing, that is unnecessary.
Yeah, unnecessary disputation.
Unnecessary disputation. Right. Why is this so? You are ruling some group of people. People elected you as their leader. The people are raising concern, and you are saying that those are unnecessary concerns raised by the people. This is not something that we should all encourage, that the E-Levy, from all angles, from all issues that have come, the concerns that have been raised by Ghanaians, every facet of this country, it's clear that E-Levy is not good. The people are not willing. If it is something that the people will have to walk to the tax office and pay, I can tell you that the default rate, if this bill is passed into law, will be about 90-something%. But it's because it's like you're picking money from somebody's pocket without his knowledge.
I see, but
so that is why this government is bent on imposing this, and the people will not have any option than to pay, because as soon as you do a money transfer, you'll be paying. So if the people are saying that this bill is not good, the E-Levy is not good, I think that the government should listen to the people of it. But any attempt being made by them to reduce our numbers, I think the Ghanaians are watching. Everybody.
Would you block that attempt to reduce your numbers? Would you resist that attempt to reduce your numbers?
We are sure that for now we have our numbers, the 137. What we are asking government to do is to table the E-Levy, whether they want to maintain the existing bill or they want to even change the bill, introduce a new one. Government should do it. And then we don't want any trouble or any fight again in the chamber. We will not allow anybody who is presiding to vote on the E-Levy. We won't allow that. Okay? So once they marshal their numbers, we also have to marshal their numbers. They shouldn't make any attempt to reduce
one number, one of your colleagues appears to be in the grips of the law.
No, there is nothing against him that debar him from voting.
So he will vote?
Definitely, he will vote. Why? What says that he should not vote? If the bill is brought and he's in the chamber, why won't he vote?
That is an injunction on him to restrain him as a member of parliament.
No.
Only MPs are the ones who are supposed to vote in this bill.
He has not been served with any injunction. So don't say there's injunction against him. Until he has been served, then you can say there is something against him. He has not been served. So there is nothing like that. He is a member of parliament and he's entitled to vote. Okay? So if the bill is tabled today and there is a vote and he happened to be around, he'll vote. Yes.
And for me, finally, how would you smuggle him in here, in the chamber to vote? Because the court and the police clearly is looking for your colleague.
We are not holding him anywhere. He will walk by himself. He will drive himself and enter this house and walk into the chamber. Nothing will prevent him from doing that. So if you're asking me how we're going to smuggle in, I think that you are imputing something into what I'm saying. We are not keeping him anywhere. He is on his own. He's an adult. He's a member of parliament elected by the people of Assin North. He's doing his work as a member of parliament, representing his people. When he's needed on the floor and you want to come, he will come and vote.
Right. But finally, for me, so in the event, that, of course, I've heard some of the NPP colleagues say that now that the court has ruled and has slapped him with perjury and forgery, they will resist him from even coming to the chamber. I've heard some of the NPP colleagues say that. What would you do if in the event that they try to stop him from entering the chamber and partaking in the vote?
Who should stop him?
The NPP MPs. I mean, your colleagues on the other side.
Okay, they should try. Let's see what happened. They should try a member of parliament who is coming to enter the chamber and perform his duty. Let them take the law into their own hands to restrict him, and let's see what happens.
What's going to happen?
I said, let's see what happens. If he will allow himself to be prevented, we will see. Okay?
I see. Thank you very much, Honorable. He's the Deputy Minority Leader, James Kluche Aveji, there, insisting that the Assin North MP is still a member of parliament. He has also maintained that, of course, government will want to use crude means to reduce the numbers, and that, of course, they will resist. They will ensure that all their 137 MPs vote when the E-Levy is tabled before the House for consideration or perhaps for voting. So for him, he's not perturbed by what is happening. They are not shaking. They remain opposed to the E-Levy, and they will ensure that Honorable Jachi Kwesen of the Assin North constituency will partake in every decision that will be taken by Parliament, because he is still a member of Parliament.
Yes, with some clarity, how long can the MP go without an official notice to the Speaker in terms of his absence? How long, how much time does he have?
Well, that is why the court insisted that they need to serve him in his personal capacity as an individual MP, because the Speaker is not around. So you have to serve the Speaker, and then the Speaker uses discretion to inform the MP. Now, since the Speaker is away, there is no possibility that the MP will be served through Parliament. And so he can go as many days as he wants if he's able to hide from the lenses of the court and the police as well. But for that, nobody can stop him from entering the chamber or performing his duty. So it is until the police and the court get him and serve him personally, the MP will continue to hold himself out as a member of Parliament for his constituency, being the Assin North, because the Speaker of Parliament himself is not there to facilitate the process of serving the member of Parliament.
My colleague Parker Wilson there giving us the very latest updates from Parliament. Now, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is calling for a collective and decisive effort in dealing with the growing instability in West Africa before it devastates the entire region. Sub-regional group ECOWAS is today hosting African heads of state and governments who have today converged in Accra to find a solution to the increasing cases of military takeovers in member countries. After the latest coup in Burkina Faso, yet another failed attempt was made days ago in Guinea-Bissau. Addressing leaders at the summit today, President Akufo-Addo called for a collective measure to curb the growing wave of instability.
To the resurgence of the canker in our region. Let us address this dangerous trend collectively and decisively before it devastates the whole region. Excellencies, the resurgence of coup d'etats in our region is a matter of grave concern. This evolution challenges the democratic way of life we have chosen. We need to stand firm to protect democracy and freedom in our region. You'll recall that during our virtual summit held on the 28th of January 2022, we suspended Burkina Faso from participating in ECOWAS institutions and requested the immediate release of President Roch-Marc Christian Kabore, who was detained alongside other political actors. During our summit, we reaffirmed our commitment to upholding the principle of zero tolerance for ascending to power through unconstitutional means, and therefore demanded an immediate restoration of constitutional order by the military. To assess more accurately the security and political situations in Burkina Faso, we agreed to dispatch 2 missions, respectively, the Committee of ECOWAS Chiefs of Defense Staff, led by the Ghanaian Chief of Defense Staff on Saturday, 30th January 2022, and a joint ministerial delegation led by the chairperson of the Council of Ministers, the Ghanaian Foreign Minister, including the President of the Commission and the UN Secretary General's representative for the Sahel and West Africa, on Monday, 31st January 2022. Their reports have been submitted for our consideration. Excellencies, I commend our continental body, the African Union, on its firm decision to suspend Burkina Faso from participating in AU organs and institutions, in alignment with the decisions of the ECOWAS Authority on the situations in Mali and Burkina Faso. The African Union expressed strong support to the efforts of ECOWAS in addressing peace and security challenges facing the region, including the resurgence of military coups. This is the solidarity and international coalition that are needed to halt the political turbulence in our region and the continent at large.
Well, this extraordinary summit by ECOWAS is beginning to draw a lot of reactions. Joining me now for a conversation on this is Kofi Henaku. Kofi Henaku is the Secretary, International Relations Department for the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Also joining me is Adama Gaye. He happens to be a journalist, author, and former ECOWAS Director of Communication. I'm grateful that, gentlemen, you're joining us via Zoom now. Let me start off with you, Adama Gaye, if you're on. We've seen a number of summits by ECOWAS in relation to similar coup d'etats and military takeovers. How unique is this conference or summit happening in Accra today, and what do you believe the resultant effect will be?
There is nothing unique in this summit. It ends up looking like business as usual. They are coming up with the same kind of recipes, and they are not truly seeming to grasping the issues at stake. It's not just about democracy, it's about governance. Bad governance, incapacity to govern, incapacity to deliver goods in the countries. Everybody knew and could see that the ousted president of Burkina Faso, Roch-Marc Kabore, was going to be toppled. The country was facing a lot of hardships. Many people were killed. 2,000 people have been killed since he came to power in 2015. 1.5 million people in Burkina Faso are displaced. And yet, you cannot continue talking about upholding what has become an illegitimate civilian leadership and rejecting the capacity of the military to come and fix the disturbances, the instabilities affecting this country. So, unfortunately, hearing President Akufo-Addo, who is a seasoned diplomat, lawyer, and who know about the region and the continent, repeating these kind of utterances is very disheartening, because at the end of the day, what we expect from him is to say we have at hand a serious challenge of leadership, governance, democracy, security. Is a holistic approach that is needed here, not just calling for a return to what is not a constitutional order, but is a disrupted constitutional order from the inability by the civilian to run the country. So there are two illegitimacies here. One is from the civilian and the second one from the military. We need to have a grasp in this whole picture if we want to address them seriously, and not just come with these ready-made solutions that have been applied in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Guinea. They have not worked, and they will not work if they continue following blindly the route. By the way, you observe something. They are not calling in a martial way for sanctions to be imposed on Burkina Faso, because they are realizing that they are losing ground, they are losing the followership of the populace of West Africa, and they are becoming more and more irrelevant in addressing the challenges, not just of West Africa, but also helping the rest of the continent, Africa, that is meeting this Sunday in Addis Ababa for a summit at the African Union to understand the extent of the challenges facing West Africa that may spill over to the rest of the continent. This is not new. You have to remember that in the 1970s, West Africa was a playground for the military to stage coup. They are back to it because the civilians have failed. So we have to check why they have failed, why they have not been competent, why they have been corrupt, why they have been under the authority of foreign powers like France and others. So these problems, if they are not addressed, I think, unfortunately, ECOWAS will continue losing relevance in its role as a custodian of peace, stability, economic integration, and political stability and democracy, yes, for West Africa.
Just hold on for us briefly, gentlemen. We need to get some updates from the summit grounds here in Accra to find out what the latest is, so we can expand this conversation further, because the socialist movement of Ghana is also raising concerns about the approach that ECOWAS is adopting in all of this. My colleague Elton John Brobe is joining us live from the hotel where all of this is happening. Elton, first of all, give us an update of what the decision or the possible conclusion of matters are where you are.
Right, so we're going to wait a little longer before we get to understand how decisive ECOWAS wants to be in the attempt to address what President Akufo described as a worsening security situation, especially in West Africa. The meeting itself ended about 40 minutes ago. As I speak to you, all the heads of states have left. President Akufo has left. Now, what is left is the president of the ECOWAS Commission to now address the media. And his address will capture the communique, the outcome of today's meeting. That's what we're waiting for. The meeting has ended. That's what we are told.
While we wait for that, what indications are we getting? And looking at the posture of some of the leaders who are attending this summit, what do you glean from the interactions that we're seeing at the summit?
Right, so we've been on this road before, and I don't expect anything different from what we have been started with in the last few months. Apart from Burkina Faso, they also discussed Mali and Guinea. Goodluck Jonathan, who is the ECOWAS Special Envoy to Mali and Guinea, briefed them on the political situation in the two countries. Also, Ghana's Foreign Minister, Celia Yokoboche, also led a team to Burkina Faso over the weekend to study and report to ECOWAS. Their report was also one of the bases upon which the heads of state deliberated. What we are picking is that they don't accept the position of the Malian interim military order that they will need at least 5.5 years before they can return the country to constitutional rule. Remember that ECOWAS, at its last meeting before the end of the year 2021, directed the military regime led by Assin North to return Mali to constitutional rule by November of 2021. And they flouted that. In fact, they told ECOWAS that they were not going to meet it, and for that reason, they communicated to ECOWAS that they will need at least 6 years to return the country to constitutional, because a lot has to be done before that can be done. ECOWAS, in its response to Mali, froze the accounts of some key personalities, including the military leader, imposed restrictions on them, directed member states that shares border with Mali to close their borders and all that. Guinea, on the other hand, was also visited with similar, sanctions. Now, it is unclear the details of the committee's report from Mali and Guinea that the leaders took decision on. Like I said, we're waiting for the final communique on that. But on Burkina Faso, because this is fresh and they've already been suspended, and there was a directive last week at that virtual meeting for them to return the country to constitutional rule and also ensure the safety and well-being of the deposed president and some cabinet ministers that were arrested. We don't know what else ECOWAS wants to do. But judging from what President Akufo-Addo said in his opening remarks, they are also looking at tightening security within the border. As you may be aware, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Mali, last year came together to fight terrorism that were being led by Al-Shabaab, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS. Together, they contributed almost 1,500 troops. And before Christmas, they had arrested about 300 of these, elements, and then seized improvised bombs, weapons, and many other things. Now, the danger is that because Burkina Faso no longer has a functioning elected president and the administration of that country is not in a good stead, ECOWAS fears that it is giving these Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and Al-Shabaab the free hand to operate within the sub-region. Ghana shares border with Burkina Faso already. We have been told that almost 2,000 people within last week, they fled to Ghana seeking asylum. And we are already dealing with over 100,000 of such individuals under the Ghana Refugee Board in the last few months. So the situation even appears to be impacting heavily on Ghana's economy and how we are able to deal with our own security. And these are matters that they want to deal with. We're waiting for the community to fully spell it out.
Well, Elton, another highlight of today's event was the arrival of President Umaru from Guinea-Bissau. That's one of the spots where there was a failed attempt just after the incident in Burkina Faso. What was his reaction to the engagements that were going around during the meeting?
Indeed, before the failed attempt to overthrow his government, ECOWAS was going to announce him as the mediator for Burkina Faso. And then he had to deal with his own security matters in his country. He was here, fully participated in the meeting. The main meeting itself, apart from the opening ceremony, the media did not have access to. So I'm unable to tell much about it. But my information is that ECOWAS is studying the security situation in his country. There are talks of deploying some ECOWAS standby force, because apart from the general agitation about poor economic conditions of some citizens within the West African sub-region that is fueling some of this agitation, Guinea-Bissau has been identified as a major route for the transportation of narcotics, especially cocaine. And they have even earned the nickname the Narcos of West Africa. And the information is that the president of, Guinea-Bissau, in his attempt to deal with this narcotics issues, may have caught the displeasure of people who are directly involved. So apart from the political issues, about the general economic issues, because Guinea-Bissau is one of the poorest countries in the world, there's also the issue about narcotics, which has found a safe haven in Burkina Faso, in which it's trying to deal with. And ECOWAS, I'm told, is looking at having a standby force to help the Guinea-Bissau army to flush out these individuals.
Elton Brobe is our presidential correspondent. He's also been monitoring events at the extraordinary ECOWAS meeting happening here in Accra. Still on the lines with us via Zoom is the former ECOWAS Director of Communications, Adama Gaye, and also a member of the Socialist Movement of Ghana, Kofi Henaku. They appear to have a challenge with the approach ECOWAS is using in all of this. Kofi, help us with your position. Let us understand what it is that the Socialist Movement of Ghana has a challenge with. You claim that the approach of ECOWAS is not right. How do we resolve the crisis that stares us in the face?
We of the Socialist Movement of Ghana we believe that the approach, the 2-1 is just one constitutional without dealing with the security, economic. Hello?
Well, it appears that we're having challenges with your line, but could we just try one more time? Let's understand the position of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. What's your concern with the ECOWAS approach? That's the question I was seeking answers to. We'll try working the lines again, but Adama Gaye is on with us. So we're getting the reports and details of what it is that ECOWAS's position may be at the end of the day. It's a clear signal there that, first of all, on the issues relating to Mali, ECOWAS is not willing to give the long haul to Mali to restore its democratic order. On Burkina Faso, Ghana is taking immediate steps, and it appears that ECOWAS is going to take tougher stance against some of these countries. Do you feel that these sanctions would work in any way?
No, the sanctions don't work. They have not worked in the world anywhere. That's a wrong approach to solving a protracted and deep challenge, as I said earlier. The other aspect is this. The Malians, they've never said they want to be in power for 6 years. They said it's clear in French, up to 6 years. That's a negotiating basis. And ECOWAS should have been more diplomatic and nimble in addressing this, telling the soldiers, okay, we understand that we have serious problem to fix, but we cannot allow you to be there for a long term because that will negate our approach to democratization in West Africa. Okay, for 1, 2, 3 years, we can accept that. But just outright issue those kind of sanctions, that was not the right way to go about it. In the case of Burkina Faso, from the mission that they have sent, led by the foreign minister of Ghana and the chief of army staff of Ghana, they are coming out, and the participation of Mohamed Anabis of the United Nations, who took over from Dr. Mohamed Ibn Tambas as representative of the UN Secretary General in West Africa. They have come up saying that the Burkinabe people are diplomatic. They seem to be understanding where we're coming from. So we can believe, therefore, from those utterances that they may not clamp sanction on the Burkinabe military coup makers. To the contrary, they know that this gentleman is a former soldier, Mr. Henri-Marc Sandaogo Damiba, who is the current leader of Burkina Faso. Just barely 1.5 years ago, he was deployed as a military in Mali under the MINUSMA, so the forces of the United Nations, so they can talk to him. And I think that's the approach they are having. When it comes to Guinea-Conakry, I think that they have not been talking about it much because they know that Alpha Condé made all these blunders by not respecting the term limit in power, forcing himself to entrench himself in power, and last but not least, killing people while he tried to get a fraudulent election in October 2021. Last but not least, the case of Guinea-Bissau, that is even worse, because people are saying that Mr. Embalo Sissoko, a general, has been under this attack because he was trying to fight drug traffickers and those kind of corrupt people. He is at the center, at the epicenter of those crimes. This guy was a boy of Blaise Compaoré. He didn't send to America Antonio Injai, a former chief of army staff from Guinea-Bissau, who is accused of being a drug trafficker. He didn't do anything. He said he will not relinquish him to America. And also, in the past, really, he was involved in all kinds of shenanigans with the Blaise Compaoré, dealing with the terrorists and the traffickers, corrupt people in the northern part of Africa. And now that the same thing is doing in Guinea-Conakry, but parading as a fighter against corrupt people or drug traffickers. I think this is just a public relations venture approach to cast himself as somebody who is a Democrat, when in truth, even his victory in 2019 was not very sure, because the PAIGC, the party that led Guinea-Bissau to independence in 1974, didn't accept that. There was a petition, but this general, former general, even civilian, is not always really the serious person he pretends to be.
Adama, let me take your thoughts on this. The chairperson of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State, President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is calling for a concerted effort this time round. What's your impression about his leadership so far in handling these matters? This is not the first time he's made this call. Is it the case that he's not gaining enough support from neighboring countries in the region?
I think I know President Nana Akufo-Addo is a very sharp person intellectually. He is a decent person in my mind. But the fact is that he doesn't seem to understand what's going on here. Those people he's calling behind him, to rally behind him, to fight these insurgencies from the military. I do believe sincerely he's not getting it right, because those people he's calling are the ones who are creating the conditions for military coup to happen. Even Mr. Paul Kagame said that military coups are created by bad economic governance, by poor democratic management in our continent. So, if you want sincerely to rally around people behind you, you need to be convincing in the message to address to the West African populace. ECOWAS should stop appearing as a club of heads of states defending its members and not accepting that there are many rumbles coming up from the ordinary people who are not seeing the benefits of regional integration. ECOWAS was created in May 28, 1975 to promote, in the midst of the Cold War, economic development in West Africa. Today, less than 16% of trade in West Africa. You don't have growth in West Africa. To the contrary, there is economic recession in many of the countries in West Africa. And also you have the sanitary challenge and other security challenges. And they want to cling to power. They don't want to address the problem of the ordinary people, who will see people coming around and hailing, saluting military people, encouraging them to take over from the civilians that we see in our countries.
Adama Gaye, let me also draw your attention to this. Some experts are calling for an interventionist approach. There are calls on the likes of the big brother, Nigeria, to intervene and try as much as possible to join forces with other nations to ensure some level of stability. We've seen that in the case of the ECOMOG deployment into Liberia and Sierra Leone. What's your take on such a radical approach? Will that be helpful this time around?
This is not new. Remember, ECOMOG, the military force created for peace and stability in West Africa, was created in 1990 at the end of that year in the footstep of the conflict emanating in the Gulf, when Saddam Hussein on August 2nd, 1990 invaded Kuwait, the world was concerned with the Gulf because of oil and other issues there. So West Africa was left to itself. And thereby, the West African leaders, ECOWAS, they were very smart by devising this ECOMOG approach during a meeting that was held in Banjul. ECOMOG intervened in Liberia and stopped the forces of Charles Taylor from taking over the country. They were close to doing it, but the problem was that forces, when it was used, even the Liberians, they were joking about the acronym of ECOMOG. Instead of calling it the ECOWAS monitoring group, they call it everything car or movable object gone. In other terms, the forces that were deployed then turned out to be thieves in Liberia. So the war in Liberia was extended until 2003 power and the advent of new leaders, including Ellen Sirleaf Johnson. So ECOWAS tried this, but has it always worked? Not necessarily. Take the case of Liberia, as I mentioned. Sierra Leone, it was a success in the sense that it was done because of Nigeria's Abacha and the support of UK. Tony Blair intervened there because he had something to correct in his image. He intervened in the Second Gulf War. He wanted to redeem his image. That's why he supported ECOWAS later on in intervening in Sierra Leone. So you have also the case of Guinea-Bissau, where ECOWAS sent troops in Gambia. They sent troops there. In the Gambia, they managed to get Yahya Jammeh out of power. He accepted his defeat because electorally he was defeated. Okay. But in Guinea-Bissau, ECOWAS troops have been always there, but they have not still now fixed the problem.
I get your argument. I get the argument you're making. Right. And this is an era during which you served very much. We'll delve into it shortly, but let's also try and get the position of the socialist movement of Ghana. They've issued a statement raising concerns with the ECOWAS approach. Earlier, we're having challenges with the lines to Kofi Henako, his back. Kofi, you are making a point about your concerns with this approach that ECOWAS is adopting. Kofi's line appears to still have some challenges, but let's move on now and talk about foreign involvement. It's one of the greatest concerns at Damagaye, and I'm sure that you know about this. Let's wrap up the conversation on that. There are concerns that if you look at the trend of interventionism that we're seeing, or perhaps the military takeover, I should say, this is also happening because of the failure of the external forces to support these developing countries in West Africa. What's your take on inviting the world out there to support West Africa to ensure some level of stability in the region?
It begins at home. You don't count on other people to come and fix your problem. And also, you have seen the world getting less and less interested in this type of international forces. Even America, when they intervened in Afghanistan in 2001, they stayed there until recently they had to withdraw because they failed. Same intervention in Iraq, they failed. Currently in Ukraine, about engaging into conflict. Do you expect them to come to rescue of West Africa? I don't think so. Currently, even the European Union is discussing the possibility of withdrawing its forces, the Takuba forces, from Mali, because they realize that this is somehow a new colonial ploy by France, trying to bring other external forces to support it in order to subjugate the countries that it doesn't have the means to control this because of its own financial and economic and political standing in world affairs today. So I do believe if you want to fix these problems, We need to go back to the basics. We need to acknowledge that as long as our countries are not governed with proper leaders who are concerned with the collective interests and not with privatizing the resources or controlling the legitimacy of violence that is given to the state, as argued by some political scientists, if that is not stopped and people are better managed, I think we'll continue to have this problem. And foreign forces, if you invite them, you run the risk of having, unfortunately, our countries ending up being recolonized. You invite them, you never know the outcome. So we have to be very careful about it. Let's have a serious conversation, and I call for a convening of an African convention to discuss what are the problems, why this is happening, because this is not something that is sui generis. It doesn't come like that overnight. It came out and came about because, unfortunately, in all the countries that are concerned, the leadership was poor and it was selfish, it was privatized, it was a rentier form of leadership, and that led to this situation that we are seeing. Your country in Ghana, you have had it. You had to make an effort in the mid-1990s, early 1990s, towards serious democratization. That's why Ghana today is a country that is more stable and is more open to democratization, despite some of the frauds and other challenges that you have. But if we don't have that kind of conversation to restart afresh, whether in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Senegal, in Cote d'Ivoire, you have all these problems brewing, you have to address them. Don't count on other forces, and particularly don't count for the United Nations, because you will be inviting tourists who will be taking advantage of our country.
Adama Guy, we're grateful for your time. And I'm sure this is just the beginning of the conversation, because ECOWAS is yet to release their communique on the matter. But grateful for your time. You're still live with us here on The Pulse. Still to come, thousands of children infected with HIV in Ghana. How so? And what can be done about the situation? We'll speak to the Ghana AIDS Commission and HIV ambassadors on what needs to be done to address the situation.
4 out of 5 new infections in young people aged 15 to 24 years are adolescent girls and young women. It is extremely troubling.
And you're welcome back to The Pulse with me, Blessed Suga. Now, the Ghana AIDS Commission has debunked speculations that there are over 50,000 children living with HIV in the country. In a write-up making rounds online, the Daily Searchlight attributed the figure to the HIV ambassador, Azuma Nelson. But clarifying figures, Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission says data available shows about 28,000 children are living with the virus. Mr. Treme joins us now on Zoom with further details on this. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. So help us understand the figures if it's a bit exaggerated out there. What's the level of infection amongst young people in this country?
Well, thank you very much, Blessed, for having me. The figure quoted for children aged 14 and younger obviously is in error. The correct figure is what you mentioned, which is 28,710, representing 8% of the total number of persons living with HIV in Ghana as at the end of 2020. We're currently compiling data for 2021, so this figure is actually the most recent data that we have. And so there couldn't be any other data. And therefore, the correct figure is 28,710.
And if you look on your screens right now, you can see a breakdown of the figures there. But regardless, these are worrying figures, isn't it?
Oh, yes. These are children below 14 years and below who got infected through mother-to-child transmission. And in this day and age, we do not expect that we should have such a high number of children getting infected, because we have the prevention of mother-to-child transmission, in place, where we usually there is medication for preventing vertical transmission. And so we should not be seeing this large number of children being infected. And in fact, it is one of the things that as a commission, together with our stakeholders, the Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service, and all the stakeholders, including our partners, think that it has to change as quickly as possible. It has to change because it is highly possible for us to have babies who are free of HIV. And we've got the technology and we've got the capacity as a country to achieve that. The challenge we are having is mainly because of inadequate equipment to test the children at the right time to know their HIV status and be able to provide them the necessary treatment that would save their lives and also ensure that they grow up to become, adults and contribute to the development of this country. And so in our strategy, 2021 to 2025, we seek to eliminate mother-to-child transmission. And it is not only for HIV, we are also seeking to eliminate mother-to-child transmission of syphilis and hepatitis B. And we call it triple elimination. And we have our partners behind this commitment, and government will really want to see that by the end of 2025, we would have achieved elimination of mother-to-child transmission. And so we believe that every woman, especially pregnant women, will avail themselves of the services that we have in place at health facilities to ensure that they get tested. And if they test negative, they continue to do the things that would protect them from infection. But if they test positive, then they have to accept the offer of treatment, which is free for every person living with HIV in the country. And with the treatment, they will be able to prevent mother-to-child transmission. And the doctors and nurses are well trained to handle any such case to ensure that no child is born with HIV. And as I'm speaking to you, mothers who cooperated with doctors, the health facilities, and adhered to treatment and followed the prevention of mother-to-child transmission procedures have had babies who are HIV-free. And we have several thousands of such babies in this country.
Okay.
And so it's very possible for every mother to have a mother who lives with HIV to have an HIV negative test.
I get the dynamics of this. Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo is also worried about the figures. Listen to him address the media at a press conference last year on this matter.
As rightly pointed out by the UNAIDS, the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS, and I quote, "Today, the world is off track from delivering on the shared commitment to end AIDS by 2030, not because of a lack of knowledge or tools to beat AIDS, but because of structural inequalities that obstruct proven solutions to HIV prevention and treatment, unquote. Gender inequality is a major reason for the disproportionate disease burden on women and girls. 2 out of 3 Ghanaians living with HIV are women, whilst 4 out of 5 new infections in young people aged 15 to 24 years are adolescent girls and young women. It is extremely troubling that adolescent girls and young women account for 28% of total HIV new infections in the country. For us to end AIDS, we must eliminate inequalities and discrimination in every form of its manifestation, such as domestic and gender-based violence, harmful, outmoded traditional practices like widowhood rights and child marriage.
So that's President Akufo-Addo there. Mr. Chirome Tiahini is the Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission. He's not gone. He's still here with us. So that's the concern of the President. Beyond that, we know that the greatest fear out there is that we keep losing more and more people to this dreaded disease. The trend we're seeing from 2019 and 2020 indicates that it appears the figures are receding. What's accounting for that? And are we still on that tangent where we are seeing a decline in the number of persons we're losing to this disease?
Yes, the trajectory is clearly showing that we are on a declining trend so far as new infections of HIV and AIDS-related deaths are concerned. Between 2019 and 2020 alone, the decline was the AIDS deaths declined by 19% in just 1 year. And I think for new infections, it declined by 10%, which is quite significant. Although we want to see a much higher decline. And so we all have to reckon of AIDS. In fact, no one should develop AIDS and never mind dying of it. And so it's all because of the antiretroviral treatment, which is tested and proven to be the only effective treatment so far, to date, for persons living with HIV. And so everybody who lives with HIV has to adhere to treatment. But unfortunately, we have more than 100,000 persons living with HIV in Ghana who are not on treatment. And that is the reason for the high numbers of deaths relating to AIDS. And so it shouldn't happen, because those who are on treatment and adhere to treatment do not die of AIDS-related causes. Of course, if they have to die, it may be some other disease, but not AIDS-related causes. And unless, of course, there is some situation that has not been seen by or investigated by health personnel. And so we encourage every person who lives with HIV to be on treatment. It doesn't matter how you feel. Some of them think that they are strong and don't feel sick, and so they don't need treatment. But the truth of the matter is that you need treatment even when you are. Treatment works better for you when you are strong and healthy, when you don't feel sick, because that ensures good health outcome so far as treatment is concerned. And so we encourage every person living with HIV to be on treatment. Some of them also, after having been on treatment for some time, especially when their viral load becomes suppressed, they think that they are well enough not to be on antiretroviral treatment. And that also creates a lot of problems for them, because within a short time after stopping taking the medicines, the viruses would erupt from the tissues where they've been hiding, and then they begin to attack the immune system once more. And if you do not continue treatment, then obviously you are going to develop AIDS. And so these are some of the few challenges that we have. And we believe that all Ghanaians, especially those living with HIV, will agree with us and cooperate with the healthcare workers and adhere to treatment so that we get the full benefit of treatment.
Right. The Ghana AIDS Commission was reporting in the media late last year that you were raising concerns with how the growing trend of older men intentionally infecting younger girls. Has that trend changed since the beginning of this year?
Thank you for asking this question. I just have to indicate to you that that was a misreporting. That is not what was said. But as for older men having sexual activities with girls or younger women or young women is known to us, and it is well documented in the literature. When you look at the demographic and health survey and the multi-cluster indicator surveys, you see that age mixing, we call it age mixing, so far as sexual activities are concerned, is quite prevalent in the country. But we will not necessarily attribute HIV infections among adolescent girls and young women to only age mixing. There are several other factors. And so I guess thanks for the opportunity to correct that misreporting.
So how then do we describe the situation? What's the appropriate description to give to that?
Well, the fact is, adolescent girls and young women are becoming infected. I mean, based on the figures President well articulated, which you played to hearing of you a moment ago. It's a reality that we have to address, because it's not the best for the young women to be infected. It is men who infect them anyway. And so it could be from their age groups, but when you look at the data, it's quite clear that it's coming from older generation than their own age group. And so older men will have to protect the young women if they have to have any affairs with them. Ideally, we expect that young adolescent girls would abstain from sex, because they are within the age period when they should prepare themselves for the world of work, and therefore their focus and concentration should be on either educating themselves by going to school or learning a trade, so that they can, reach their full potential. And so that should be their concentration. But if they cannot, then they have to use condoms at all times, making sure that anytime they use condoms, they use it correctly. But for men, it is very necessary that they protect themselves and protect their partners, because you don't know who has HIV. You cannot see it, from the face unless you test. And most often people do not know their HIV status, especially of their partners. And if you have unprotected sex, and if it unfortunately your sexual partner is HIV positive. We pray that you don't get it, but there is high possibility that you will get it.
Chairman Tuahini, I'm grateful for your time here on The Pulse. Remember that you're still with us here on the Joy News channel. We are keeping our eyes on developments here in Accra, where there's an extraordinary meeting of ECOWAS on the instability being witnessed in the SAB region. We'll keep our eyes on the latest developments happening there at the Kempinski Gold Coast Hotel. We'll bring you the live press conference, which will be held by ECOWAS later this afternoon. But first, residents of Boku have been exempted from the ongoing vaccination of COVID-19 doses. This will affect the Ghana Health Services target in the Upper East region. Upper East Regional Health Directorate has commenced an operation 263,061 doses in 5 days. But the Boku area has been put on hold following the security advice from the Upper East Regional Security Council. Listen to the Deputy Upper East Regional Director of Health explain the situation to JoyNews.
Now, this map is just trying to show you the coverages as far as those who have received single dose is concerned by districts. So you see clearly that Boku Municipal and Binduri, less than 20% of their target has been reached with just one dose. Now this should not be surprising because of the security concerns around Boku Municipal and its environs. And then let me say that so far it's only the Boga East district that has been able to vaccinate above 60% of their target population with one dose. There's still the ideal thing is to have as many people as possible, at least above 60% being vaccinated. But many of our districts are far away from this target. And for those who are fully vaccinated, the story is not too different. You can see that Boku West, Binduri, and Boku Municipal, less than 10% of the target has been fully vaccinated. Just to re-emphasize the fact that there's still a lot of work for us to do as a region. There have been some security concerns, especially the Boku Municipal and also the Kandiga and Doba areas. It's been difficult to get all our health workers to communities to reach out to as many people as possible that is required. So as we speak, for this campaign that we'll be embarking on, Boku Municipal, for instance, will not be taking part in that campaign. We'll rely on advice from the security agencies as well as the district director, who is representing the regional director, to advise us when it's safe to deploy vaccines to Boku Municipal.
Or from Boku, we can now take you to Manfo in the Ahafua North District of the Ashanti region, where residents of that area have expressed concerns over poor telecommunication services in the community. They say the situation is affecting their social and economic lives, most especially during the times of emergency. A member of the Manfo Traditional Council, Nana Tua Mensah, says the poor internet connectivity adversely affects students' virtual learning.
Residents here will always have to move to an area with fairly good network reception to make calls. Most areas here have poor network connectivity. A member of the Manfo Traditional Council, Nana Tua Mensah, explains the dangers associated with the poor telecom service.
Yebetraban, an MP, contracted by DBC. At Samri.
Before the elections, the MP brought a contractor to construct a telecommunication mast, but we have not seen any work. A communication mast started 2 years ago has been abandoned. Economic and social lives of the people have been adversely affected. Students often trek to other areas to access good connection to attend online classes or submit their assignments.
I apply for forms. Now forms I apply, attention.
The lack of connectivity affected my admission process.
And minya kona se twetwe sinti na ose mitumrika na meba hase ebeye kona sense network na ha no very poor.
I have to run to the hill anytime I have a call.
This
mobile money vendor, Yao Sechi, says he sometimes incurs losses due to the poor network.
It has affected mobile money transactions. We are running at a loss.
The Mountfort Traditional Council wants the local assembly and member of parliament for the area to immediately address the challenge. Here is Nanan Tuam Mensa again.
Yes, Ghana and Ghana by municipal assembly.
We plead with the assemblies to construct a mast for us.
A report by Ewukuma Lake.
Now, the Adaklu District Assembly in the Volta region has rejected a nominee for the position of the District Chief Executive for the 5th consecutive time. Juliana Kwedepo, who was the 3rd nominee for the position, polled 9 votes against 10 votes when she was presented to the Assembly for confirmation. On Wednesday, the Assembly members appealed to the local government ministry to do a wider consultation with stakeholders before nominating anybody for the position, else he or she will be rejected.
Before the voting process to confirm or reject the nominee, appointments of government appointees were revoked and 6 new appointees were sworn in. The Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Lecha, who has been acting as DCE for Adaklu, appealed to the Assembly members to confirm the nominee to reduce his workload.
I will be very happy if you have your own DC here with you, so that documents will not be brought to me in Wo anymore, and so that I can hand over to her and also concentrate on my job. I am appealing because the choice is yours. Nobody can coerce you, but we are only pleading and appealing to you to approve the nominee for us today. So, Presiding Member, I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I will hand over to you. And at this juncture, I have the honor and the privilege to introduce to you the President's nominee for the position of DC Adaklu, the person of Juliana Kwedepo. So she's here for you to do the needful so that we can go to home.
Dr. Leche's plea, however, fell on deaf ears. 10 of the Assembly members voted against the nominee, while 9 voted in her favor. This is the 5th time the Adaklu District Assembly is rejecting the President's DCE nominee in the 2nd term of the New Patriotic Party. So far, 3 nominees have been rejected. But the Adaklu District Assembly presiding member, Winfred Agbogbo, believes the story might change if a wider consultation is done before the next nominee is selected.
It is important for us to cross this bridge. And I believe one of the things we have to do, which will enable us to end the brouhaha about our DCE confirmation in the district, is to do broader consultation and consensus building, because it has been a hectic period for us. And we promise sincerely that if this is done, I can assure government that we'll be able to confirm the next person they bring to this house without any difficulty.
Nonetheless, the Assin North District Assembly finally approved a nominee to occupy the DCE position after several attempts. Ofosu Simon Peter, who was the third DCE nominee, polled 13 yes votes against 4 no votes on Wednesday when he was presented to the Assembly. There was a rejected ballot. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Adaklu, Waya.
And you're still here with us on the polls on the Joy News channel. Don't forget, we'll be crossing over very shortly to the venue grounds where the Economic Community of West African States will be addressing a live press conference, communicating ECOWAS's position on the recent coup d'etat in Burkina Faso and other issues of instability being recorded in the sub-region. But just before we cross over to that part of the country where all of these events are unfolding, the paramount chief of Pandai in the northern region has served notice that only persons with knowledge in information and communication technology will be allowed to occupy traditional leadership roles. Pandaiwara Nana Bresiam Okre Atosa has also given an ultimatum to chiefs in his traditional area to acquire ICT skills or risk losing their stools. My colleague Ohimin Tewia has more in the following report.
Pandai, the capital of Pandai district, is one of the deprived communities in the northern region. Deprivation is so real that imaginary ICT lessons are held in schools in the area without computers. But thanks to the benevolence of a US-based couple and their Source of Hope NGO, a computer laboratory equipped with internet and a library have been donated to the community. The chiefs and people met the news with ecstasy. The paramount chief of the area, Pandaiwara Nana Bresiam Okore Atosa II, is asking the 52 members of the Pandai Traditional Council to take advantage and upgrade their knowledge in ICT.
We didn't know computer. And if now we have a computer lab in the town, why don't we run to go and learn how to do it?
He has prescribed the dress code for chiefs attending ICT lessons.
One will have to be in a tie, clean dresses, then you enter there. But you should be neat. No dirty person is allowed to go there.
According to the Pandaiwara, not only is knowledge in ICT a requirement for chieftaincy in the area, but a must for all would-be chiefs. He says he will no longer approve of any ICT illiterate candidate nominated for chieftaincy position.
Formally, we put people who are not educated and they can't read, they can't write as chiefs. But this time, we have learned so much that getting this computer, nobody would like to stay back. You will learn it. We have half of them, they've been to school somewhere, and then because of money, they drop out. They can still go and learn the computer. Once you have it and you don't go to learn it, you are out of the chieftaincy.
For officials of Source of Hope, the desire by the elderly to embrace and acquire ICT knowledge means their target has been achieved. Fred Osei-Yeboah is Vice President of Source of Hope.
For us, we've achieved what we want to achieve. Because if the elderly are embracing what we've done Can you imagine what these high school kids and the ones who are nearing up to go into universities, the drive that will come out of them?
From Pandai in the northern region for Joy News, Oyemiteria reporting.
What you see on your screens now are live pictures from the Kempinski Gold Coast Hotel here in the Greater Accra region, where ECOWAS is set to address the media on happenings in the sub-region. They've also taken a decision on Burkina Faso and issues relating to Mali and Guinea-Conakry. All of this will be brought to you live here on The Pulse. We take a short break. We'll return with more stories after here. Well, it's a wrap, and that's all time will allow us on The Pulse this afternoon with me, Blessed Sogan. But that's not all of the action here on the Joy News channel. Remember that we are keeping our eyes on that crunch meeting that was held here in Accra today. ECOWAS will be addressing the press in a few minutes from now. We're bringing you a live transmission of that event. So stay with us here on the Joy News channel for more news. Also, you can log on to myjoyonline.com.